My name is Khalid. I'm a PGY5 fifth-year resident in plastic surgery.
My name is Cole. I am a first-year plastic surgery resident.
And today we're going to talk about away rotations. So, what is an away rotation, and why do you think, what's the purpose of an away rotation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a topic that's often talked about with medical specialties. So kind of for the general population, the way I like to think about it is it's the interview before the interview. It's what allows you to get that interview for plastic surgery or for surgical specialties or for any specialty. And some medical specialties require it. Definitely neurosurgery, plastic surgery, ENT. They pretty much, it's almost mandatory at this point. And what you do is you go out to this institution, you first apply for the away rotation, or even call it an audition rotation. And then once you're accepted, you go there for about a month, sometimes 3 weeks, and then you act as an intern on their service and at that program to try to show them that you're able to be capable and see how you're like. Is that kind of how you describe it, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, pretty much. I would describe it as a month-long interview, the purpose of it is really just showing who you are and your work ethics and everything that you can't write on a piece of paper, on a piece of application. The other side of who you are.
Right. So how would you go about choosing an away rotation when looking? There's so many different programs and there's so many people talking to you about it. How would you decide?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, for me at least, so first of all, during medical school, I think most schools allow you to go on 3 away rotations. So to pick, you'll have to look at the programs that you would like to go to the most. So whether that's bound to like a geographical area or a certain institution that you really like. But I think also going to a big name institution or, whether you're going into any specialty, any big hospital that is very known for that specialty would be also beneficial. So, if I had to pick, maybe 2 of them would be places that I really want to go to, and one of them is a very well-established place that has big names, surgeons or doctors that I would learn as much as I can from them. And what about you? What do you think? How would you pick away rotations?
Yeah, I think this is a long talked about topic that many medical students and residents are going to give you different advice and opinions on. I think there's multiple strategies. I think one strategy is to choose places you just want to go and knock it out of the park and call it a day. And I think that's a very viable strategy. I think another way to do it is to go places where your mentors know people. They can call before and say, I have this student coming in, is very excited to rotate at your institution, really highly considering this place. Then you go there, you do extremely well, and then they call again after interviews or even before interviews, and you have this multi-touch points. I think that's another really great strategy. Additionally, some people will go to really big name institutions, and then they'll go to other places where they think less people are rotating at. And by doing that, you have more attention on you because you're one of fewer rotators versus going to these big institutions where there's maybe 15, 20 rotators per year, and it's hard to kind of stand out. So those are the different things that I would kind of consider when looking.
Yeah, those are very good points. What do you do to prepare to go on an away rotation?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a long topic. I think we could talk about for a while, almost another video. But in short, the things I would do is I would practice the basic surgical skills at your home institution. If you don't have a plastic surgery program or program for your specialty, try to work with other ancillary programs. But practice surgical skills, specifically if you're going into that away rotation. Learn as much as you can about that field. Start reading books on your clinical rotations. Start reading about these topics and these different kind of what we call them PIM questions. And for our audience that doesn't know what a PIM question is, it really is just a question that is asked to you typically by one of your seniors or an attending or somebody that's higher up than you in the medical field. And so you can start learning those kinds of topics. And then you really want to plan out a lot more logistically where you're going. If you're going somewhere that requires a car, try to figure out if you need to buy a rental car or if you can somewhere you can drive. Try to find an Airbnb or a place to stay that's close to the hospital, so you're not spending that additional time and hours to actually get to the hospital. Because I think these things are they really cause a lot of friction getting to the hospital, and they cause you stress in an environment you're already extremely stressed out about. You're not familiar with the environment. You're not familiar with the hospital. But those are kind of some of the things that I would think about. Are there things that you would think about when?
Yeah, those are, very important things. I think looking up the program that you're going to and knowing the people that you're going to be working with.
Right.
What are they known for? What publications have they made? Which gives you a good idea about what their interests are, so that you kind of know going in what to expect, and at least show them that you're prepared, that you've done your homework. You bring up a really good point about a location where you're going to be staying at. I think the closer you are from the hospital, the better, because you're not then worried about going back and forth. You can maximize rest, which is like the main thing I focus on, maximizing rest, and then minimizing transportation time. You're going to be doing it twice a day, every single day for a month. So that's really, convenience is a big thing. And then, just, prepare for, know what the expectations from you are. So if you've never been on a away rotation, reach out to other people that have been through that and ask them, like, what should I do? How can I be a good away rotator? Which we're going to talk about that, in a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So, onto that topic, how do you make a positive impression? There's just so many things going on in your head when you're an away rotator. What are some of your tips about, how you just knock it out of the park?
Yeah. I've been on a few away rotations, and you only learn that when you're, you kind of see, you learn from your mistakes almost. I think leaving a good impression is mostly understanding your surrounding, understanding the people that you're working with, understanding the situation that you're in, knowing when to talk and when to stay quiet as a medical student is very important. Knowing when it's a light mood versus a serious mood, when you can, say a joke versus when you have to be quiet and focused. And also just being nice to everyone. You can't go and every single person you meet is going to have a feedback about you, whether you know it or not. So just be the best version of yourself. And then and then also try to be as helpful as you can. So you're there, you're taking away, you're a guest there, and the program is welcoming you. And sometimes you're kind of a hassle or an obstacle. So don't try not to be. Try to be helpful rather than a burden on the program. So the first few days, just lay low, watch everything, learn how things work, because every hospital has a different, a routine. Every surgeon or every doctor has a different routine. Try to learn the routine first, and then think, how can you make that person's life just a little bit easier? And even the smallest of things will make a big difference, will leave a big impression. What do you think about things that you did that made, left a good impression?
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonates with me is you said lay low and kind of understand the dimensions. Residencies are so diverse now. You have people from different backgrounds, and you have people that just think differently and act differently. And so you may go to the residency and vibe with a particular individual or chief resident and get along really great with them and joking around in the OR. And you may have this great relationship with them. And then you go to another OR the next week, and you're with a new chief and you're with a new junior, and they're completely different. And that's okay. But you have to understand that if they're different in the OR, you have to adapt your ways. If you come in there and you're joking around with them, and they're not a person that likes to talk in the OR or joke around and listen to different music than you, whatever it may be, then it may come off very negative, and that could be enough to actually axe you from the rotation or take you out of the running for that program. And so I think it's very important to, if you're going to veer on the social side versus quiet side, I think it's better, if you don't know, just to remain more quiet until you know the personality of the person you're working with, or the residents or attendings you're working with, and try to kind of figure out the things that the way they like to interact and work with each other before just kind of jumping to what you were doing prior to that. And so that's what I would say.
Okay. How about, how do you think you would benefit the most from an away rotation? How can you learn as much as you can? How can you benefit the most from going on an away rotation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's multiple motivations for doing away rotation. I think one is to learn. one is definitely to learn, and then another one is obviously to get the job. You want to get into residency, and so those are the two things that I would say come to mind. So the best ways to do that is to come prepared. I mean, if you come prepared to the OR, then you can ask thoughtful questions. You can learn from some of the best surgeons in the nation and residents that have learned quite a bit as well. If you come in there and you already know a lot about the case, you can ask more thoughtful questions. So that's one thing to do. I think the question was, how do you get the most out of it? Well, if the goal is to get an interview, is what I would say for away rotations. And so to get that interview is you want to make sure you could fit in. And we talked extensively about how to fit in and how to be a good resident. One thing I would do when I went on away rotations is I would try to really act as an intern. It's hard because you can't put in orders and you don't have the same abilities as them because you just don't have access to some of these things. But try to be an intern. If you can be an intern, then they can see a lot of your surrounding peers can look at you and say, wow, Cole would be a great intern. This guy would be a great intern. We'd love to have him. And so if you can try to model yourself off of someone that is in a year above you, and you could really do that, then that helps quite a bit. And I do that now, even in residency. I try to model myself off of the sixes. The PGY sixes, and just kidding, but essentially that's what I would try to do. But what's your experience, and what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I would mirror the same thing that you said, and I would say try to prepare as much as you can for the cases, because these cases you might not see anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And when I say cases, I obviously I'm thinking about surgery, but also it could be cases where you have a medicine diagnosis, whether on your own medicine service, and you see a patient, you might never see that patient again in different institutions. So I would say learn as much as you can from every single interaction that you have. I would say try to leave a impression of yourself. Be yourself. Don't pressure yourself to be someone who you're not, because that's it can be seen. People are not dumb, especially in medicine. People are, everyone is highly qualified, mm-hmm. smart people. So I would say be yourself. And that is a very important thing to, people to know that you're a genuine person that they can work with. And, make connections, stay in touch with the people that you meet during your visit, because, you never know, everyone can make an impact in your life. And don't burn any bridges. Just stay in close connection, in contact with everyone after you leave.
I like that point, the stay in contact, because I think as an individual without a home program, or individuals maybe rotating from a international program, those connections are invaluable later on when you're applying, and will help you quite a bit. You reach out to them, maybe you got a rec letter, maybe they can help you with research, all those components. And they even add up once you're in residency. You'll continue to maintain those connections, and they help with other things such as research and just collaborations across these communities. These are very small communities, whether it's plastic surgery or internal medicine or even outside of the medical field. These connections become very important. So
Yeah, well, these were all very, very good points. Thank you all for listening. And, share it in the comment section if you have any tips about any of the away rotations that you've done. We're definitely going to be talking more about, these topics, about medical school, about residency, about our journey, about what do we do for fun. Just let us know in the comment section whether you have any topic that you'd like us to talk about. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.